I recently did a talk at the Vegan Wellness Retreat in Michigan, and I am going to share that talk with you here. Aside from just chopping off a tiny bit at the front and a tiny bit at the end, I haven't edited it so that you get to listen to every single word that I said there. It went very, very well, and I do hope this will help you get a better understanding of lymphatic health, colon health, cellular health. I really enjoyed the talk, and I hope you do too.
Why we're feeling this way, but even if we're eating really well, it could be years. It can take quite a while to detox all of that out, and the lymphatic system plays a really important role in this, as well as the digestive tract. And 70% of the lymphatic is in the gut, actually. I got into this work because I was very, very ill and I grew up as a vegetarian and mostly vegan. A very, very strict diet. I mean, we weren't even allowed to have sugar or anything like that, so starting from the age of 6 years old. And because of that, I kind of rebelled as a kid when I was at my friends' houses, and as a young adult, when I was on my own for the first time, I felt like, oh, I could go to the store and buy candy and like all of this kind of treats that I wasn't allowed to have when I was a child. And what I wound up doing as a vegetarian, because that's what I chose to do as an adult, was eating a lot of pastas, cheese. That was mainly what I ate. I didn't really eat, I would eat salads and things like that, but it wasn't like a regular part of my diet. And then I did something when I was 19. I went to the dentist on my own for the first time. And I had been taught by my mother. My mother was really holistically minded and taught me about root canals and just anything you can imagine that would be toxic to the body. And I was convinced by this dentist to get a root canal. And I feel like from that time, it took some years, but that was a downfall for me, health-wise, why I am where I am today, as far as having dealt with chronic Lyme disease for about 8 or 9 years, until I went to the raw vegan diet and started doing colonics, lymphatic therapy, and other modalities to help. And then found out I had mold illness as well. And so obviously we have our environment around us, which will affect us, and the foods that we eat and the lifestyles that we lead, but it's what's inside. And so one thing with the root canal, and I want to just mention this for anybody who doesn't know about this or is considering getting a root canal or has a root canal, and I would highly suggest looking into why it would be very beneficial to consider removing the root canal. Because basically it's a dead tooth that's in the mouth, and the lymphatic system is going through our whole, through the whole body, it's in the organs, it's everywhere, even in the teeth. And when we get a root canal, which puts rubber into where the root of the tooth was and leaves the dead tooth in the body, that blocks off and creates, as my biological dentist said, a festering wound that never heals. And indeed, like when I had the root canal removed after 9 years, part of my jaw had to be removed. It was actually soft, like jelly, and it was and I couldn't get an implant or anything because of that. Like I lost quite a bit of integrity of my jaw, and it's affected everything, my whole mouth and my health. I believe that is where the mold. It started with bronchitis, and I was never sick as a child. I mean, I had some colds and normal things like that, like chicken pox. But then as an adult, starting at age 40 is when everything kind of went downhill with bronchitis first, and then the chronic Lyme disease, which I thought at the time I was bit by a tick, even though I didn't see anything like that. I didn't see a tick bite or anything. And perhaps I was, but it is the terrain, really. I understood that later, which is why I became sick. When I got to a point where I was living in a moldy house and I could barely get out of bed. It would take me about 3 hours to get out of bed. I had very, very low energy, like brain fog, depression, just felt awful. And I was listening to some naturopaths I was working with telling me, like, you need proteins and like certain foods, and I was eating kind of like heavier. It was all vegetarian, but a lot of eggs and not very many vegetables and salads and things like that. So I just got to the point where I was like, okay, I might actually die if I don't do something, if I don't make a change in my life. So I went to a raw vegan retreat for 10 days, and after maybe 3 or 4 days, and at this point I wasn't doing exercise, I wasn't really going for walks, things like that. I was really inflamed. And I didn't even know it, but I was also constipated because, you know, you can have regular bowel movements, but yet still be constipated. And most people are carrying around between 5 and 25 pounds of waste in the gut that we don't even realize. So when I went to this retreat and we were doing very good, it was based on the Anne Wigmore philosophy and nutrition program and everything like that, and lots of movement and things. It was a retreat called Body Mind Retreats in Ithaca, New York. I was doing weights and jumping on the trampoline and doing 4-mile walks and all kinds of stuff, like within days of being there. After 2 weeks, I decided to stay on for a second retreat because they do them all summer long, and stayed on as a volunteer. So I worked at the retreat. And before I went home, after the 18 days total, I was writing plans out and notes about how I was going to start doing my own retreats or just do some kind of work to help people, teach people one key thing which I understood. Up until that point, and this is because I was feeling so good and I was realizing it was just the colonics and the movement and saunas and the food that completely changed things. I had taken so many herbs, even antibiotics, unfortunately, and nothing for years, 8 years, nothing moved the needle with my Lyme disease. And it was then, being at this retreat for just a few days, that I realized it's about what you leave out. It's not about what you put in. So I'm not going to take a pill. And this is what all these naturopaths would have had me believe and would have you believe. Not everybody. I'm sure there are naturopaths out there who also are really focusing on diet, but I just haven't run into any. So it was about less, not more. So I was always thinking, and people around me, my family and other people, are thinking, I'm going to take this. And even if it's natural, you know, we actually grew up, as a kid, we didn't even really take herbs or natural. My mother believed in the herbs, but we didn't really take anything. We just didn't go to a doctor. We just got better. Like she let our immune system do its job. And I realized that later on. Yes, like if you can take herbs and it can help you, or whatever it is, you know, that you're trying to take, it can help. But if your lifestyle doesn't match, is it not a healthy lifestyle, that's not really going to do anything at all. It's just a Band-Aid. And also, thing to be careful of is, if the herbs are helping you too, it can also be kind of burying the symptoms rather than getting to the root cause. So it may be a supplement, it may be something to help, but it's really about the food, and not a ton of food either. It's just really not about like, oh, I need all this protein. It was like the lighter that I went, the better that I felt. And with the colonics, I'm astonished every day with the clients that I see, even people that have like completely flat bellies and weigh 110 pounds, like they can come in and have like 1 or 2 pounds of waist come every week, like if they're coming weekly, for example. And it's just because we're carrying so much. And so what I also want to stress about this whole idea of less is more, and about getting to the root cause with the cells of the body, cleaning ourselves, is that the food is very cleansing, but the food is so the food is not the detox. I mean, maybe over time, slowly, and a lot of people in the community, maybe most, are saying like the food is enough and it can clean you out. But for all of these years, especially if you have a chronic illness like I did, and I'm still dealing with the mold, you know, somewhat, but I'm so much further ahead than I was. We can really use a helping hand of lymphatic therapy, colonics, and you can do a lot of stuff at home too. And I know there's controversy about colonics, like some people really don't believe, you know, they want the body to do it on its own. But so we're absorbing these toxins that are in there, and I see it every day, like especially with people that are eating the way that a lot of us do, they need it even more, because it's like a traffic jam. So we're opening up, we're unleashing all of this dormant toxicity that then can become clogged up like a pipe. And maybe eventually for some people, you know, without colonics, you know, I don't know everybody's story. Eventually they may reach a point where it's okay, it's all coming out on its own, but a lot of the time, you know, you're seeing that people are having waste come out through the different organs on its own, but there's still all this really So for example, with the digestive system, really caked up waste, because in the digestive process and the elimination process, that waste that's sitting there is constantly having fluid drawn out of it every single day, and it's almost like a petrified stone or something, like it just doesn't budge, doesn't move. So you may seem like you're regular and you're feeling better and better, but that's still in there. And why leave that in there and be absorbing all those toxins? So with that said, I don't know if does anybody have any questions so far?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, like, I've been thinking about parasites a lot recently.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've heard is that if you do a flush, it's not going to get rid of parasites. They'll still be there. I don't know if you heard that or know anything about that. It's a weird way to ask a question.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would say that we want to make sure that our terrain, our body, our cells are clean. And so doing some kind of flush or doing a parasite cleanse can be beneficial in my experience and with the experience of my clients. But if they are having certain habits with their diet, and it's not even now, like if the diet's really good, but they had some past issues with their diet, that's still going to affect the balance of the body. So I would simultaneously be working on, and also getting the gut clean first, like doing colon cleansing
First.
Like if you're open to doing colonics, would be really advisable, because if we work on things like parasites, which can be really deep and hidden, and sometimes microscopic too, like they're all different types, that will get in the way. If the gut is congested, it will get in the way of eliminating those parasites. And same with like a liver cleanse or anything like that. We want to always go with the gut first.
Yeah, so it's like getting a good sweep on everything, and then you can get.
Yeah, and there are foods, I actually have resources here. There are special foods that are fruits and vegetables that are specifically really broom cleansing, like really vigorous, gentle, but like they're more likely. So for example, if you're eating iceberg lettuce or romaine lettuce, or even like, I don't know, parsley or something, that's good for you, or it has some kind of benefits, but there are other, some things turn sort of spongy, like they don't do anything in the gut, but then there are other things like shredded carrots, shredded cabbage, fennel, celery, things like that are really going to scrub the gut, and so that would help. So if you're doing cleanses of the gut, like by doing some colonics or maybe even enemas at home, that will help immensely. Yeah.
On the subject of cabbage and celery, if you grind that up in a blender or something, then does it not have its scrubbing action anymore? Do you have to chew it?
So it's good to have, so certain foods like cabbage and carrots, when they're raw, they're easier to kind of get the benefits and process when you grind them up, because to get that kind of result. I mean, if you were asking if you blend them up, will they not be as effective?
Right.
So do you mean like into a smooth consistency? Right. It's best to have, I think shredded really finely is a good way to do it. I mean, it's fine, it could still be beneficial to blend, but it'll just be different because it won't have as many, it'll be somewhat oxidized. Yeah. Any other questions so far? All right. So let me just take a quick look at these notes here. Yeah, and I just want to say, I want to talk about another thing that greatly affects our whole system on a cellular level, and that is food combining and food order. That was another thing that I learned, and there's some basic, people have different approaches to this, and some people who've been maybe eating raw food for a long time can be okay with not following these rules maybe. For me, I found that it helps, and for a lot of my clients, actually all of my clients, when they're having a lot of like bloating and discomfort and inflammation in the body, I always ask them if they know about food order and food combining. Is that something that anybody here knows?
I do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know about it.
Oh. So you can look up food charts and kind of do a little research to find the ones that make the most sense. They're all the same. They're all based on the same thing, but there's some better ones out there that are just more thorough. So some of the basic rules of thumb are really, you don't want to be drinking with your food. I mean, if I'm really thirsty, like my throat is dry, I might have a couple sips of water. But generally, I drink before the meal. I try to wait 20 minutes after drinking and then eat. The other thing is fruit. Melon, first of all, like there's this saying, eat it alone or leave it alone, which maybe you've all heard. So it just wants to zoom through your body. It's the fastest digesting. So even with, like, you don't even want to mix that with other fruits. Like, you want to have that totally separate. So every time when I'm having a meal here or in general, if I'm going to have watermelon, that would be the first thing I eat. Then I would eat other fruits. And even within the other fruits, you could really nitpick and get into like subacid and the sweet and all this. And do we want to combine certain things? I don't look too deeply into that, but whatever feels good with the fruit, I do. And then you don't ever want to have fruit after a meal. And so many of my clients do that, pretty much all of them actually when they come in. It just creates so much fermentation. And I see this every day because I'm looking at what's coming through when I do Colonics, and it's a disaster. Like it's creating poisons because then it's just sitting there we eat a meal that has protein like, I mean, we don't, generally here I don't think we eat a lot of protein, but just a heavier meal of any kind that's not fruit, and you're having fruit after it, that fruit is waiting for that other food to digest, and some of those foods generally could take maybe 8 to 12 hours, but also even longer because of what's already in the system. Sometimes that can get backed up. So yeah, fruit always on its own. And one rule of thumb that I do with fruit is just that if I have fruit, I do have fruit every day pretty much, but when I have fruit, if I have something else afterward, like later on, I will not have fruit again until the next day. So that's a good way to just sort of space it out. Even then, if somebody's really backed up and has a lot of inflammation, it could still, if they're sluggish and things are slow, it could still be. You can gauge by how you feel. Like if you feel like the fruit's really making you bloated, you might want to do some times where you're just doing fruit. I mean, I did a 24-day fruit cleanse and found that helped me with candida issues, which was completely opposite to what I was told or what I believed. It was pretty amazing, you know, think heavier foods like fat especially gets in the way of that correct metabolism of the sugars too. So if we're eating, it's really the fat that's the issue, not the fruit when we have issues like candida or even diabetes, type 2 diabetes. I've had people, we've helped them turn around type 2 diabetes with fruit, which is just incredible. And then the other rule of thumb, really, there's more to it and there's more nuances to it, but I'll say one more thing about the food combining is protein and starch are not the greatest combination because our body needs different enzymes to digest them both. And so they're not really available at the same time. So what will happen is the food's going to come through undigested. It's just going to be like this fermented mess. Yeah, so that has such an effect just on overall feeling of and well-being of the lymphatic system and the whole body on a cellular level.
So you're saying a meat and potatoes diet that everyone is on is really not.
Yes. So what I tell people, I tell my clients, if you're having chicken and potatoes, I don't eat that way, but a lot of my clients do, have chicken and broccoli instead, or if it's tofu and broccoli, or whatever it is. Of course, I recommend doing as much raw food as possible, and I've actually had a lot of clients come in who are on that typical diet, even like the standard American, and they've switched to mostly raw, which is incredible, and they felt so much better. Yeah, so. Yeah, so I've been talking a lot about the gut because the gut is such a big part of our lymphatic health. And everything, step one, like you've all gone on a path of raw foods at whatever capacity that has in your lives, it makes a huge difference. One of the big things that you can do if you if you already eat a lot of cooked foods on a regular basis when you're not here, is having a big salad before the cooked meal, whatever it is, goes a really long way in making our bodies lighter, like just clearing the path, helping to deal with that food better because there's so much enzyme activity going on with the raw foods. So it's best really to not mix, like sometimes you could have a salad with a little sweet potato or something, but it's good to do like a salad first with just the raw foods and then the cooked if you can. There's a guy, 𝗁𝗄𝗽𝗃, maybe some of you have heard of. He's a 96-year-old raw vegan, and he's an amazing inspiration. I would highly recommend everybody to look him up. And
What's his name?
his name is 𝗁𝗄𝗽𝗃, and it's spelled Bisci. He's 96, and he's a incredible person. Like, yeah. So he says that in his experience and in his work that having some sweet potatoes or other cooked veggies, steamed veggies with a salad is fine. And that leads me to say also, like, he talks about, he doesn't believe everyone needs to be on a raw diet. He works with people where they're at. And I believe that too, because sometimes, so if you're very, very sick, like I was, it can be great to have like a crash diet. You know, you're just like, I'm desperate, I just want to do anything. And it could be really uncomfortable and lots of detox symptoms, and or maybe not at all. You know, it sort of depends on the person. But I think for most people, it's really wise to slowly kind of incorporate these kind of changes into your life and into your nutrition, because like what I was talking about, all of this stuff that's in the body, dormant, all of these toxins, they're going to go haywire, and it depends on your life, like what you're able to, if you're just sort of convalescent, you know, you're able to be at home and you want to go all in and you really want a dramatic change really quickly, then it's great, you know, as long as it's not going to do something that is highly uncomfortable. I mean, I think that's pretty rare, you know, that it's going to be like dangerous or something. Obviously, you use your discretion. But so I wanted to I wanted to just say too, you know, with disease and illnesses of all kinds, I believe that it's all the same thing. It's all from one thing. It's not like I have this and I'm going to take this medication or this herb, or yes, those herbs can help. Like these things can help with symptoms, but the root cause is looking at what's going on with the terrain, what's with my body. And so I grew up with a real fear of cancer and breast cancer, because my grandmother died at age 49 with breast cancer, and my mother was so afraid of cancer, and that's why when we were 6 we became vegetarian and mostly vegan, and really, you know, we never took antibiotics or any, you know, all that kind of stuff, like very, very holistic. But every single day she would say to us to avoid this, avoid that, because this causes cancer, that causes cancer, and it was scary, you know. And I understand where she was coming from, and she was afraid. But I learned, and it took me decades to learn this, that fear is going to get in the way. Like she did wind up dying of breast cancer, my mother, at age 54, and it was really hard to see her go through that. And I do believe that a big part of it was fear. You know, she did clean up the diet and everything, but she didn't know. She didn't know at the time. I wish that I knew then what I know now, so I could have shared with her, because she taught me so much and shared so much, and maybe it would have helped her. She didn't understand the idea of cleaning the body. I mean, she did to some extent. She did go to a raw food retreat while she was very sick with cancer, and that was what inspired me to go later when I got sick with the Lyme disease and the mold illness. And when she came back, so when she left, before she left, I hadn't seen her for a little while, and I went to visit her, and she looked like she was like days away from death. Terrible. And she came to stay with me in Vermont for a little while, went to this retreat for I think 3 weeks. It was in Michigan, actually. It was one of the original 𝗁𝗃𝗺𝗽 based retreats. I think it was called like the Creative Health Institute, I think. And it was amazing. She came back and her cheeks were glowing, and she had energy, and she just was doing so great. And she didn't keep up with the raw foods though, and I do believe that if she kept up with the raw foods, things would have been different. One thing that was notable to me is that at the retreat, I spoke to her about what was happening there. I would check in with her, and she didn't want to do the colonics they were offering there, or the enemas, and that's a big part of that 𝗁𝗃𝗺𝗽 regimen, to do it, because we're loosening up so much at such a rapid pace, and we want to get it out so we're not just reabsorbing, especially if someone has cancer. Anyway, so I think that if she had done those two, it would have helped. So she came back home, and maybe it was, so that was in August, and in January she died of cancer, went back to just not eating very much at all, but whatever she did eat, it would be whatever could be bought at the store by her husband or something. You know, he didn't cook for her or anything, or make the raw foods. So my point in bringing all of this up is that with the, what I was saying about the disease being all one thing, it's all about detoxification, true detoxification, which is not just eating certain foods, it's not putting stuff in, it's taking stuff out. Any questions?
I have a question, just backing up a little bit. You had said how the lymphatic system is tied to, very important to the gut. But I thought the lymphatic system was tied to the kidneys because they were so symbiotic.
It's actually, it's tied to everything, like we have over, like between 600 and 800 lymphatic vessels in the body. And so when I do work on people, a full body lymphatic session, there are filters. So everywhere there's like a, you know, like the crease in the elbow, behind the knees, the neck, like the top of the thigh, you know, that crease. And then all of the organs, it's all, but the gut has the largest amount, of lymphatics.
Can you talk a little bit more about like dry brushing, like using like your hand, like just manual?
We're gonna do a little session. We have time. So that's what we're gonna do. As soon as we're done with the talking part, we're gonna go over a sequence, a lymphatic sequence.
What if somebody's had part of their colon and lymphatic system removed because of colon cancer?
So as far as, like what would you do for
To keep it cleaned out so it doesn't happen again.
how many lymph nodes, it sort of depends, and but do it, so for the lymphatic system, so it's all tied together, but doing these if there's a lot of lymph nodes, if it's more than 16, I think is the number, then the person may need to change the direction that they're moving in for the lymphatic, like for lymphatic treatment that they can do on themselves, or even if they go to get lymphatic treatments. So, but other than that, like changing the direction, as long as there's no issue. Like sometimes people may have a certain thing going on with the heart or something, it may not be advisable to do the lymphatic work, but if it's okay, if there's nothing in the way, no contraindications, then they could continue, they could still do that. And they need it even more because, so you can still move it, and there's different ways of getting around it and moving it in other places and stuff. And then for the colon, someone who's had something removed, they can still have colonics. It sort of depends on what it is, what they had done. But yeah, they can still do a lot, yeah.
Couple comments. That must have been a really scary childhood. Like, how did you overcome all that fear? And I do think, I mean, genetics obviously is caused, but if you focus on cancer all the time, the law of attraction, right? Like that has to have some sort of, effect. The other thing, I was watching a lymphatic workout, and she said, if you move around normally in a day, you don't really need to do this. Like, what is your feeling?
That you don't need to do the lymphatic?
Yeah, your body's designed to drain the lymph itself.
And same thing with the colonics, like people say, well, our bodies are designed to do it, and I think both of those are inherently true, but it's just that when we become clogged up so much that that will really help to speed along the process so that we can get to a point where you can just move around or where you wouldn't need. So maybe not everybody would need it. It sort of depends on if somebody has been very active their whole lives and they don't really have inflammation and they're kind of okay, then yeah, I think that they are probably fine to just continue with just movement.
They can't hurt.
Yeah, you mean to do treatment?
Yeah.
I think, and also just our environment, and we're exposed to so many chemicals and stuff, and the lymphatic system process, we're cleaning out our bloodstream. So really, I think it's beneficial for anybody, no matter what. Even somebody who doesn't have, in my work, it still takes 6 to 10 sessions to clear the drains, as they call it, like of you know, even if you don't have like lymphedema or any issues, now if someone has lymphedema or any other kind of issues like that, stagnant areas in the body, then it would be even more than that. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, sorry. I'll let that answer her, and then you.
What are pyre patches, and are they part of the lymph system?
I actually don't even know what pyre patches are. I've heard that before.
It's an
but-
Edgar Casey thing.
Oh.
Used to talk about a lot.
Okay.
It sounded like it was part of the lymph, but I thought, I'm gonna ask somebody else if they know. what it
Yeah,
is.
I'll have to look into that. But-
So I'm really on the fence with colonics. I know because my stomach is like disproportionately, so I know I have a lot of backup after 30 years of eating standard American, and then the last almost 30 years of eating vegan cooked items off and on with raw. So I have been taught that most of the blockages are in the smaller intestines, so the colonics don't get to that.
That's an excellent question.
Yeah, so what?
Or that is your question, right? Like, is
Yeah, and just more opinions about, or what you've experienced, facts about, because there can be some disadvantages, messing up gut bacteria or things with colonics.
Okay.
I study natural hygiene.
Okay.
Lean way far right with natural hygiene.
Yes, and natural hygiene generally does not encourage colonics, right?
Right.
Because yeah. So, and there's some different changes now with natural hygiene, though, right? Where some people are more open to it, or no?
I mean, a lot of people are, yes.
Yeah, that's what-
absolutely. And that, everything else, yeah.
Yeah. So the first question you had was about the small intestine. Okay, so that is something I would have brought up because it's so important. So thanks for asking. We are cleaning only the large intestine, but we are really cleaning the whole body, and it's not just cleaning. We're removing obstruction. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with Arnold Ehret, who's kind of, so he, the mucusless healing diet system, I think?
Mucusless
Diet healing system.
Plan or something.
Or diet. So I'm always getting this formula wrong, but it's like, basically when we're removing the blockage, the pressure, then we're opening up our energy flow, like big time. So with the colonics, even though we're cleaning the large intestine, what we're doing is we're now opening up all of the organs, because the gas and the waste that are in that large intestine are pushing up on all of the organs, and it's creating so many different issues. Even the heart is affected, even the brain, everything. So number one, we're making room for whatever might have been backed up in the small intestine also to move down. So that's why when people come to me, I did a colonic. It's a little funny to admit it because it might sound a little crazy, but I did one every day for a year because I was so sick. That's a lot of colonics. But every single day, the same amount of waste came out for a whole year. And I do them once a week now, about once a week, but it turned my illness around. And so there's so much waste in there. It's unbelievable. And it's just, and like I said, like can be packed in. And even then, like there's still more, like it's a lifetime of waste. It's never gonna, I don't even think in a lifetime maybe some people can get it out in a lifetime. So, but your question was more about the other organs. And yes, it's like the reason I mentioned all that waste is because we're opening up by getting rid of those gases that are pushing and the waste too. We're opening it up for the other organs. So you don't need to touch those organs with water to benefit from it. And then the second question you had, what was that again? About, the microbiome. Or
No, the light bulb moment. Thank you, Cecilia.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I've really been struggling with this, but even as you were saying it or before, I'm like, oh my God, okay, we're moving out the foundation of the blockage.
People feel
So
like,
that's-
and
You
you
give
will,
me freedom to the upper intestines to.
you will, and in the solar plexus, you're gonna feel like you lost an organ because that's how much waste is in there. Most people do. Like once you've gotten that out, it's amazing.
Okay,
You
so
feel like,
one more question, quick. Did you do them at home every day, or did you go somewhere?
So for the colonics, I want to first say that I really highly recommend the Woods gravity method, and I don't recommend machines, but if you don't have any access to anything, to the Woods gravity, it's better than not doing it at all. But in the beginning, yes, I was going, and I became a colon hydrotherapist, so I could do them myself. So I do them myself. But in the beginning, yes, I was going to somebody.
But you have a machine.
Well, it's not a machine, it's actually, so the reason I recommend Wood's Gravity is because it's not a machine, it's very, very gentle. It's more gentle than an enema. So, and enemas were commonly used by hospitals. I think even colonics were at a certain point. What I used was in the first colonic invented. There were other types of hydrotherapy, colon hydrotherapy, but this was technically like the first colonic. And I learned from the woman who learned from the inventor of the whole thing. So it's pretty wild. If you look up Wood's Gravity, there have been no reports or records of any injury or any problem or any microbiome problems at all with using the Wood's Gravity method. I can't speak for those machines because those are pressurized. The Wood's Gravity relies only on gentle gravity bringing the water into the colon. There was one person, Matt Monarch, who maybe some of you know of in the raw food world is his website, but he was using, and I was quite baffled because recently, a few years back, he started talking about having a major issue with his colon. He almost died, and he was doing colonics, so people would say it's not safe to do colonics, and he did. But then I found an old video of his. The unit he was using was 20 gallons of water. What I use is 5 gallons. So when you use the water, the pressure of the water is what allows the action of the colonic. And 20 gallons of water, that is very, in my opinion, very dangerous to be such heavy weight of the water, So I think that's why whatever issues he has or had happened. Yeah. Did someone else? I thought.
So she asked about the microbiome. Does it destroy your bacteria?
Oh, it does not destroy your bacteria. That's totally a myth. And we're creating billions of bacteria. That's kind of like saying if I have a fish tank. I'm not directing this just to you, but just in general, like if you have a fish tank that's dirty and we just put a few probiotic drops in it, or we have a dumpster full of garbage and we put an air freshener in it. That's. What I'm saying is like keeping the dirty inside is not going to heal us. We want it out, and we're not doing any harm to the good bacteria. So, yeah.
Okay, I've got a couple questions. So I've done colonics and I've done enemas with distilled water on and off for 20 years, and I have a lot of experience with this, and there's a couple things I can't figure out, which I'm hoping to pick your brain. So
sure.
One is when I used the distilled water, I would get cravings for chips, things I never ate, because of the mineral loss. And some people don't acknowledge that, but in my experience, I don't get those cravings unless I do a distilled water enema. There are certain people who recommend putting a teaspoon of sea salt in with every quart of water for that issue, and that's helped me, but I still have that issue. And then the second thing I'll say is I've been an avid follower of 𝗁cie diet, and I don't think Arnold Ehret talked about this, but in the current group they talk about doing these lemon juice enemas, and those are unbelievable. Like I can't believe how much mucus they get rid of, and at the same time they can be quite strong, and they recommend doing one every day. So I'm just noticing when I do one every day, when I have weak adrenals, it does seem to deplete me. And when I back off and I do it once a week, that seems to be a good rhythm at this point. But if I were to do less, then I would run into the issues that you're talking about. So I'm curious what you might think of those. So mineral loss, frequency, and adrenals.
So I wouldn't be able to speak directly to what's happening without really knowing knowing more, but my first thought is that as you're detoxing, that may be that contributes to like the adrenal issues and the feeling weak and tired. That would be just my first thought, and I don't know for sure, of course, but what you can do to remedy that. I don't know if you do a lot of juicing around the times that you're doing the enemas or in general.
I'm eating mostly raw, but I do have a little bit of cooked. Because I'm craving that salt all the time. When I reduce the frequency of the enemas, I don't need that salt or the cooked. It's so tricky.
Have you tried like a green juice that has celery, cucumber?
I drink 3 green juices every single day.
Okay, so you.
That are 16 ounces a piece. Yeah. And I need that because the Arnold Ehret stuff says to do that if you're a lean type. So I do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think following your body, like if you're able to do them once a week, that's great, and wait to a point that you feel like you can do more. But as far as why it's happening, I'm not sure.
As far as mineral loss, like, do you agree with that doing the distilled
Maybe
water?
I mean, I don't know enough of it. I know that distilled pulls.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would cause you to feel good, but have you tried, so after you do the enemas, do you also drink juice?
I should.
That's what I would.
I know because that's what Gerson says. Like you should
Yes,
replenish
like
the
especially with
minerals
coffee
after
and-
because you mentioned doing one every single day, and that's what I was doing. I was doing one every single day because that's what the nutritionist diet method.
Yeah, if you're,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah.
Okay.
But if you're doing those with distilled water, I would really say 100% to have a green juice afterward and see if that makes a change.
Is that what you do your colonics with, the distilled water, or do you recommend a specific type of water?
I don't use distilled water. I actually use a UV purifier and a filter. And there's no fluoride in my water where I live, but so it's pretty good water. But the other thing is with the water, it's important, of course. Clean water is important, but there's what's inside there is so dirty that it doesn't really matter. This is what I was taught by Helen Wood, who was my teacher, and I agree. It kind of doesn't even matter what kind of water you use because it's way better than because you're getting all this stuff out, So I don't even, I mean, I use distilled water for enemas, and I do lemon juice with enemas sometimes too. But I would use filtered also. I don't think it has to be distilled.
What's the lemon juice to water ratio?
It starts out, so it can be any amount, but it starts out small, so you can increase it. I started out with maybe the juice of, I might have even been like half a lemon in 4 cups of water, or a lemon. And then I got to the point where I was using like the rind. It had to be only organic lemons though.
Okay.
But the rind is so strong that I'd say it can make it so you're not retaining it as long. So it's better maybe to just keep going with the juice and maybe experiment with a little bit of rind at some point.
Get more information on that because my friend went to the hospital doing too high of a ratio. So
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do a
before
lot.
trying that.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Yeah, with everything that we're talking about, like I'm not giving medical advice. Of course, you want to do your own.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of information out there. There's also a guy, Professor 𝗝𝗄𝗺𝗽, who took Arnold. He specializes in that information and took his book, that 𝘁cie𝗽𝗶𝗰 diet healing system, and annotated it. And he's got like a lot of good things to add to it, so you could check. You could find him on YouTube. He has good information too.
What's his name again?
Professor 𝗝𝗄𝗺𝗽. Yeah. Any other questions?
If you feel generally healthy and don't have, how would you know if you feel okay? Should I do an enema once a year still, once a quarter?
Do you mean
what
colonics
is there a test
or
to know how much issues you have with your?
Are you meaning an enema or a colonic or both?
Both.
Okay.
What's the difference?
Between the two? Okay, so I'll answer that and then I'll answer that. I would say that anybody, even if they're feeling good, could benefit from it, and it wouldn't hurt to do one. One is not enough of a gauge to know though. Like when people come in, I have them, or I suggest that they do a series. It's up to them, of course. Really, ideally, if somebody was doing like 3 to 6 every season, that's great, or even twice a year at least. But more, some people need more if they have really long-standing constipation or other gut issues. But if you're feeling good and you don't know, it's up to you whether you want to try it and see, because you could do a series of 3, which is not that much, and to commit to really to sort of experiment and see. And if you're going to see how you feel afterward, you're going to see what the output is, or the practitioner will, or they'll tell you like, wow, there's so much, all of this old waste that came through and you didn't even realize you had, kind of thing. Then you'll know. That would be the thing that I would say, because I don't think there's really any. I mean, you could do like a microbiome test and all that, but that's not going to tell. Everyone really does have that old waste, so yeah, I don't think there's anything that you
Part
can
of
do.
it is I really don't. There's part of I really don't know my body very well, And so it's like, I wonder a lot of things like, oh, I didn't realize that this would make me feel better too. I'm thinking that could be part of it.
Yeah, that is true because a lot of times, and I've experienced this myself too, you don't even know that you weren't, until you feel good, you don't even know that you weren't feeling as good as you could have, you know? Yeah, so, yeah. And you asked about the difference between
Just briefly.
colonics and enemas. It's pretty simple. So with the enema, you are cleaning basically like the first 12 or the last 12 inches of the colon. With a colonic, you're cleaning the entire colon or large intestine.
All right.
Yeah, and also with an enema, you have to retain, in order for it to be effective, you're retaining like 4 cups of water, which is a lot. That's another thing. Some people you could do like 2 cups if you can't hold it. It's very hard to hold, like even for more than a few minutes for most people in the beginning, especially. Then the other thing I like about the Wood's gravity is that you're not filling up with all this water, which distends the colon and everything. It's like going in and out at the same time. And then there's some periods of time where I'm holding the water in for a few seconds to soften things up, but it's much gentler. It's much gentler than an enema even, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, and I
Where are
think
you located?
I'm located in Vermont, in northern Vermont, Hardwick, Vermont. Yeah, I am online too, and I do post. I have on Instagram. I'm Beautiful Biomes, BIOMES. If anybody's on Instagram, because I do post things about food, raw food, lymphatic health, colon health. And I may do some retreats, like not retreats, but little mini ones in the future where people could come and get colonics and there are a lot of alternate, like holistic practitioners where I am, so we've talked about maybe doing retreats sometime in the future. So I think any last questions, because we're gonna do a little lymphatic sequence.
Can you talk about the importance of like monomeals in terms of aiding in easier digestion, just in general?
Yeah, I think monomeals are amazing. I do love the idea of like eating different varied foods too, but
Of course.
not like when you bunch all these things together, it instantly slows things down. So when you want to be really clear and you want to heal, monomeal, which is just eating one food at a time, like for example, if you're just having watermelon or just having somebody mentioned like just having lettuce, and that doesn't appeal to me in one of the talks the other day. But I guess to each their own with that. But I like lettuce. But yes, so a monomeal is really like the way to have, like I found with monomeal, the digestion gets, and I've not, well, yeah, I've not done it. Well, yeah, I have actually. I did a watermelon cleanse for 5 days. It becomes very uncomplicated in the system. Like it just allows the cells to clean when you take a break and you just do one food. Some people do it all the time. I don't know if that's something you generally do.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, very healthy to do.
I love it.
Yeah, and you could like you look so clear. You look very healthy and clear.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome.
So does that replace having to do like a colonic or?
Well, it wouldn't. So some people, watermelon has been called like the home colonic. Watermelon is a good way to cleanse. It's not going to get as much as a colonic would get, but it can be very, very cleansing. And it can also take a while because if you can feel really bloated and actually really constipated in the beginning. Even when people get colonics, they can wind up feeling more because it's opening so much up. It's like this traffic jam where all the waste is coming through. And it's not a bad sign, it's just that you need to support that with doing like lymphatic work, movement, and having some patience. And when you do a colonic, it's like a shortcut where it really helps move stuff.
So for the food combining thing, like at home, I don't have any issues. And I had a long-standing history of chronic IBS, like bowel movements every 2 weeks, and it's like less than fantastic. And now I'm really regular, and I don't have issues with food combining at home. And since things have improved, I'm like, do I want to try this? But I don't know about the pros and cons and all of that. But being here, I'm eating so much different food together that my gut is like not happy. Yeah. So I'm like, maybe I do need to just stick to like just fruit and not have like fruit with my salad and then the cashew dressing. And I'm like, it tastes good, but I'm like, more of a believer in food combining for moving stuff through, but yeah.
I find that to be very true for me as well.
Yeah.
I think most people, I don't think I've had any client who didn't have that problem when they're mixing a lot of different things. And the way I see it is like, if you want to do that as a special treat, sometimes like even just like the raw desserts are way too many ingredients. They taste good, but and I also find when I eat simpler, none of those foods appeal to me. They don't even taste good to me. Like sweet things, not sugar, but like, you know, dessert, even if it's sweetened with dates, tastes like a huge bag of sugar or something when I try to eat it. It's like, oh, after I've had like I did a fruit cleanse or juice cleanse or something.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, those are those things that make you want to eat more. And I'm not saying I don't believe in eating spiced, flavorful things, but it is true that those make you, sauces and good things that taste interesting, they excite your taste buds, can make you want to eat more and like mix all of this and try everything. But when you just do mono eating, like,
You stop when you're full.
You stop when you're full and you just feel good. You don't desire like all of these complicated foods.
Yeah.
But I think we only have 5 minutes left, so unless everyone wants to talk for 5 minutes, I'll do a quick lymphatic sequence. Okay.